If you're learning to code, you may have seen other people who have reported that it only took them like 3 months to actually learn to code, from going like zero experience to actually getting that first job in less than 3 months. And I think that these people's experiences beg the question of how long does it actually take to learn to code? So to go from no programming experience to first job, like what's the realistic expectations? Because a lot of you guys who are out there who are doing this need to know, like, should I buckle down for, years and years to figure this out? Or is it only going to take me 3 months? So I'm going to address that from my experience of coaching and mentoring other people to give you better expectations. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, in order to really lay out expectations properly here, I think the most important thing to explain to a lot of you guys, because you probably don't understand, is what it even means to learn to code enough that you can get that first job. So the most common misconception that I see a lot of you guys have is thinking that learning to code just means you'll memorize syntax. And once you memorize syntax, you can maybe do a few data structure and algorithm problems or coding problems that like you're set to go. That's not what being a programmer is all about. Anyone can memorize syntax. Anyone can memorize facts and figures. What it means to be a programmer goes much beyond syntax. You are basically a problem solver. You're a technical problem solver, meaning you take a programming language, which is a tool, and you solve problems with that. And you solve an array and all these different sorts of problems with it. And nothing can make you a good problem solver but actually going in and solving problems with a programming language. So what I say for you guys, the way you're going to be experienced enough to actually get that first job is you have to just dig in. You have to get your hands dirty day in and day out for a long period of time. You have to get a lot of exposure and time to programming and programming languages and building projects and running into issues, fixing issues, debugging. And that only comes from working on projects, working on leak coding type problems like programming challenges, and just doing that over and over. Rinse, wash, repeat. And obviously learning the fundamentals is important, but my point is that it's not just about memorizing syntax or something like that. So with that in mind, how do you get good enough to meet that what I call minimum threshold, right? That minimum amount of skill that most companies will hire you for, because if you have that minimum amount of skill, they can probably take you the rest of the way and help you to develop the skills that will help you to contribute to an employer at some point, so that you're good enough so that you can actually write code in a professional setting. Okay, now from there, what I can tell you guys is that a majority of you guys, I don't know what the exact percentage is, probably more than half, maybe about 60, 70, 80% of you who are watching this are going to need about 12 months or more to actually learn this on your own enough to get that first job. And the reason for this is pretty simple. I find that most people really lack a clear structure of how to go about this. So by structure, I mean really knowing what you need to do every day, really having a game plan, meaning knowing what the big picture of what you're trying to do is, from what projects you should be building, what programming languages you should be learning, and then just making sure you're consistent, right? Most people lack that. That's why people want to go to college, they want to go to a boot camp. That's why people join my mentorship program, is because they can't really create that structure for themselves, at least the structure that they can believe in. And if you lack a clear structure, that's where it takes a long time. Where I see this happen the most, by the way, or I should say the symptoms of this that are really clear to me and most common, is that when people are doing this on their own, they really struggle to get more than 10 or 15 hours of time in, because they don't really have a sense of urgency and they don't really have a clear direction or plan. But guess what? If you are consistent, meaning if you just spend time doing this, you build a few projects, even if you don't have the greatest structure in place, the greatest plan in place, you can make enough progress to get out there and give yourself an opportunity to land a first job. Because ultimately, if you can show someone and demonstrate that you've been doing this for long enough, you have a track record of building projects, and maybe they don't have to be that advanced, but again, it just shows that you've been doing something and learning and doing this on your own. That can impress a company, especially smaller companies where they don't have that really rigid structure about who they have to hire. Do they have to have a degree in that sort of thing? You can definitely have a chance. Now, the more structure you have, the better it's going to be, the better position you'll be in. But again, most people fall in this category of 12 months or more, simply because from what I've seen, very, very poor structure. And then of course, like many people just can't sustain focus for that long. Like just generally observing you guys, most people can't really hyper focus for a long period of time. And that's where most people just fall in that category of doing it for 12 months or more. A smaller percentage of people, so I think I said maybe, let's say about 70 to 80% where it fall in that 12 months or more. So I'd say about, let's say 10%, or yeah, I'd say probably about 10% of people will fall into the 3 month to 12 month category, maybe 10 to even 15%. And people who do this typically have some sort of structure. It doesn't have to be clear, but they kind of know, okay, here's the path I'm going to go down. I'm going to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I'm going to learn a framework. Then I'm going to build a full stack project. Maybe it's going to be a Node or Python. I'm going to learn about APIs. They have done enough research from the beginning to know a basic plan. And I see a lot of people who do this still not really feel comfortable or confident about their plan, but they're going to give it everything they've got for that 3 to 12 month period. And they sort of usually people aim for about 6 to 8, 9 months, something like that. But in reality, they usually learn in about 6 to 9 months, and then they apply for jobs that last 3, and that's where they can get hired. So somebody like this is usually somebody who comes from a background where either they have some technical skills. So technical skills, maybe they have worked in, I wouldn't say an IT field, but maybe in something similar to that, where they are familiar with technical terms, they're familiar with logic, problem solving, and they just see that, and they usually typically understand that a path and a plan is very, very important. And whenever I see that, I can usually predict that this person is probably going to have some success. Now, it's really important to say here that even within the 3 to 12 month range, it's very important to have a little bit of luck on your side. Like I got my job within a year of learning to code, but it definitely took the right opportunity, meaning luck, where preparation meets luck. But I think that this is where a lot of people can fall if they just have some pretty clear structure, they are consistent. And I'd say most important, a lot of people who fall in this category as well have usually had some experience in their life where they have followed through on something that took months to do. So like, lost a significant amount of weight, quit cigarettes or something like that, maybe built a high level skill in some other field. So those people are usually the ones who fall in that 3 to 12 months. Now, the last category, which everybody wants to get into, is the one that's the most small. And I'd say, all my percentages added up here probably don't add up to 100%, but the people who can do this within less than 3 months probably is less than 1%. Right? It's probably less than 1%. You rarely hear this, but the people who do fall in this category, if you are dead set on being a person who falls into the 3 month or less category, you have to basically get everything right. The first thing you have to get right is luck. So you have to be lucky for sure. Now, I'm a huge believer that luck is where, I should say, I don't even remember what the quote is, right? It's like opportunity meets preparation. That's luck, or whatever you want to say. Luck meets preparation. So basically, somebody who's going to do this within 3 months, they have to get everything right. They have to find, they just happen to apply to the right job. They like that person. They've prepared for the job interview, meaning they've done all the right steps. But not only that, that person usually comes from some sort of technical background. Also, that person usually has to take time off from work. So either they are studying part-time or full-time, meaning they work part-time and then they spend the rest of it studying, or they quit their job entirely and are working on this full-time, meaning they are studying 30 to 40 hours per week. And the most important part is if you're going to do this within 3 months, you better have a really, really strict and rigid structure that you have, meaning you have a clear idea of what you're doing every single day. You should know what that week is all about. You should know what you're doing in the next month and how that's all leading you to getting hired. And it's crazy. I think that doing this within 3 months is really, really difficult. I think aiming for it is counterproductive in many ways because look, you can do this in 6 months or a year. Like I said, you can fall in that category, even having not the best structure in the world. So why aim for 3 months? But again, I've seen it happen. I know people who have done it, but usually those people fall in that category of they have a lot of time on their hands because they quit their job or they're going part-time. They have a really good structure. Maybe they're at a boot camp. Maybe they're going to school. And then, of course, they have to get lucky, meaning that when they actually apply for a job, there's a company that's willing to hire them right out the gate after doing this for 3 months. So those are pretty much the expectations that I can give you guys from my experience. Again, my percentages didn't really even add up to 100, so take that with a grain of salt. But honestly, like you can fall anywhere in those categories. Maybe it's going to be 12 months for you or more. Maybe it's going to be 3 months. Maybe you'll be that lucky person. But this gives you an idea of sort of like where you can fall based on all those different factors. So if you enjoyed the video, I do kindly ask that you go down below, make sure to smash the like button, and it really helps me out a lot. Also, if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe as well. By the way, I also have a free PDF that you can download. It's called a Self-Taught Programmer Study Manual. It really has a lot of information about how to be a better self-taught programmer, all the study tips that I've condensed over the years. So if you want that, I will leave a link in the description below of how you can do that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, guys, peace out. Cheers.